Welcome back, guys. It is the Brothers Geek Out podcast, and we've got an exciting Geek Out session episode with you. Today, I have wonderful guest, Saj, here. He does go by other names, but I won't expose them. How's it going, bro?
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Another busy week with loads of work, but I'm trying to do some artwork at the same time as well. But, dude, I'm loving what you're doing at the moment right now, because what you did with your recent piece with Oscar Isaac, I love that. That's really good, man. Very cool.
You know what? I've only just, as you know, I've only recently got back into it. I did this course, you know, that 21 draw.
Yep.
And the dude was using this paint called gouache, and it looked really difficult. But then he had like pictures of like Thanos and Chadwick Boseman and some other superheroes. I was like, okay. And it looks, you know, I've sent you the link.
Yeah.
But it's a good mix between like classic portrait and like almost graphic art, like comic book art.
That's right.
Basically right where my sweet spot is when it comes to drawing. But
awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm really liking it. I just finished, well, I didn't finish, I just was in the middle of something there just at lunchtime, just to, I don't know, it has a calming effect.
It does. I think art does that in general, depending on any format that you use, whether it's music, lyric writing, story writing, artwork, paintwork. It's a kind of self-meditation. It takes you into the zone.
It really does. You know, I had to put timer on because last time I was just sketching, just doodling around, and it was like 2 hours had passed. So I was like, okay, let me set a timer just so I'm not late for this.
Yeah, no, that's always nice. Yeah.
You just, you know, time really does go fast.
No, it does. It definitely does. I love the mug, dude. Very cool mug.
Yes, yeah.
Nice. No, good to hear that you're on your art journey. It's always nice to see people working on their creative skills. But did you get up to much like geeky this weekend?
I watched Doctor Strange too. It was one of these ones where, you know, I don't mind going to cinema with people, but as long as they come like they're prepared for what they're going to go watch. And
exactly.
I had maybe 5 minutes to decide what I was going to do for the evening, either just stay in or go to the cinema by myself. And so I chose the latter. And my wife was like, oh, don't you want to come and see it with me? Maybe cut this bit out, kids. But but it was a case of either going with my wife or another day or just going to see it. So I was warned of spoilers, like you warned me of spoilers. So I was like, I'm just going to take the hit and quickly go see it. But when I go to cinema, I'm not one of these people that like to chat and remind people of what's going on. You need to be fully revised when you go into these films.
That's right.
And watching something like Multiverse, Madness in the Multiverse, you need to have done your homework. So I went into it, and yeah, it was okay. You've seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. Go for it. So, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, then you shouldn't be listening right now. But come back, click like, listen, save it, come back and watch it. But spoilers.
I was nonplussed by it. As in I went into it thinking there's going to be loads of cameos, lots of kind of winks to fans. You know, with the multiverse, obviously I'd heard lots of rumors of them trying to combine a lot of different sort of like franchises all in one. I was expecting to see, you know, Tom Cruise as Iron Man. You told me that. that was false. So I was excited to see it. And because I've read so many different comics, graphic novels from different universes, you know, Ultimate, Battle World, normal, the 616 stuff, the cartoons, I was thinking, okay, it's going to be a nice mashup. I was a bit nonplussed. I wasn't impressed.
Okay, it was interesting.
There was one point of it, 2 points. I was actually, okay, I'm geeking out right now.
Yeah.
But even then, they were very short-lived. And you know what point I'm talking about?
No, of course. And I've been talking spoilers all weekend. I've had different guests on talking about it and their thoughts as well. And like for me, I came out. I probably told you this before, but I didn't really like the MCU at the beginning. I only fell in love with it later on.
All right.
because my issue was that I kept on bringing my comic book knowledge into those movies. So Iron Man 1, First Avenger, Thor. It was only until we got to Avengers, I was like, holy shit, they actually did it. So they made films that match up together to continue a larger story, like the comic book. So it was like, okay, I started to fall in love with it again and rewatch them, and then I felt for it. So, but I think what's happened now, at the moment now, I feel like the expectation for Marvel and the fans have is too much. It's jumped up to a whole different level where if you get a mid-level movie like that, which I feel like they did some interesting things in there, not 100%, and there's a lot of plot holes. I just had to enjoy it. I had to start enjoying these movies for what they are and not bring my comic book knowledge into it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I've been a fan since Iron Man 1. Reason being is, you know, like you, we've been fans of these franchises, these characters since we were little. And just for the fact that people besides me and my close-knit friends would know who Iron Man is, or the Hulk, or Captain America, that was a big thing. It's like, I mean, yes, in my head it's like, yeah, I like these guys before they were cool, but it's also nice to being able to have a conversation with anyone about it. You know, you can go anywhere in the world now and say Iron Man or the Hulk or Black Panther. People can have a conversation. It kind of connects people. But then again, you and I can have a very different conversation because we kind of know the source material. But
that's right.
The thing I found with Doctor Strange 2 is, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the first one. I think it was almost a filler film, similar to Captain Marvel. It has a reason why they're doing it.
That's right.
You know, my measuring stick is, should I or would I want to watch that film straight afterwards? I watched Endgame and I was ready to watch it again, go back in cinema and watch it again.
Yeah.
Can I say the same about this one? No, not so much. Yes, the Mr. Fantastic, Professor X cameo, fantastic.
Yeah.
But that was about it. It was only those points, you know, those were the only 2 points where it was like Spider-Man's Daredevil sort of like cameo, where you're like, this is cool. And and if you know the background to Mr. Fantastic, as in like people have been wanting John Krasinski, Mr. Fantastic for ages, it's very nice fan service.
Yes, it is.
Same as with Daredevil.
Yeah.
But besides that, that was the peak of the level where, you know, I always put, you know, in Avengers where they do that pan of all 6 of the main characters. I mean, that wasn't close to it, but it was a nice kind of like nod. As we know the comic books, we know what people are saying. This is a nice nod. Even with Professor X and, you know, the Jim Lee styled green outfit, you know, the yellow hoverboard, even the 90s theme song. That was cool.
Yeah,
it was fleeting. It was very fleeting.
Yeah.
A lot of questions have to be asked. Wonder stuff. What's going to happen now? Like with his whole third eye. I mean, I know comic books, Eye Agamotto is a real thing, but obviously that's changed in MCU. I just thought it was a bit mishmash, if I'm going to be honest. Like, did you come out of it thinking that they nailed it? I want to go watch that again.
So only on the second time I appreciated it a little bit more. But the first time I watched it, I came out. There was, as you said, getting the introduction to the Illuminati and the multiverse was interesting. I came out thinking we only went to one multiverse, though. Yeah. You put multiverse in the title. I thought we were going to go through at least 2 or 3 max different places. They didn't do that. But I feel like the movie got chopped up and cut up and things taken out of it again. Because the movie was just under 2 hours. And then they did
the same about Morbius.
Yeah, and then it just felt rushed. It felt like for me, it felt like a Terminator story, you know, run through all these different scenarios in a chase scene, which had that horror element which Sam Raimi put into it. But I think there was things cut out again, dude. I feel like Marvel watched it and said, you know what, we could take 40 minutes out. Let's take that out. Yeah, because they're usually minimum 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 20 minutes. So this was just under 2 hours.
I think they had the source material to make it go longer. And the horror elements were actually made me jump. I was like, okay, that's actually quite... Yeah. It was good. Having said that, I didn't think you needed to watch What If to kind of get it. There wasn't really any kind of nods to it. All of it was kind of relatively quite clear and obvious. I was just disappointed, maybe because we've just come out off of the peak of like the pinnacle of kind of like fan service with Spider-Man No Way Home, where all of it was a joy. But having said that, I've watched it a few times now, and after that initial the reveal of the other Spider-Man, that's kind of it. Do you know what I mean?
It's not a great script either. It's got too many potholes in it as well. So it, as you said, it is more of a fan service, fan pleasing movie. We could get 2 generations of Spider-Man, 3 generations of Spider-Man in a movie. But after the 5th watch, you're like,
I watch it in the background, and that's not a good thing, right?
That is not, because it's not what
it's not captivating me.
That's
like
right.
Endgame, you tell me, let's watch Endgame this weekend at cinema, I'd do it.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
It's pure entertainment. Infinity War, I would say the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Civil War,
yeah,
I'd say the same as well.
Winter Soldier for me. Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier.
Also
movie. One where you can just put it on and it'll grip you, even though you've seen it 10 million times.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man, I know it's a bit of a unpopular sort of like statement to make, but yeah, after a few more watch, there's nothing really there.
It's a difficult one, dude, because I personally, like the last conversation I had with Michael, who's a cosplayer, but we call him the comic connoisseur. I think personally, movies don't have that watchability no more. There's only a handful of movies that do that. So I could slap on the Never-Ending Story, and I've seen that over 200 times, and still be captivated by it. Yeah. But some of the movies that are coming out now, they're not movies that I'll return back to. Like I'll watch it once or twice. Yeah, that's right. They're one shots. Yeah.
It's almost like I need to watch this so I get the, we're completists, we're collectors. We need to have everything to not even though it's not great, you need to, I mean, like, let's take Luke, for instance, and Tasman. They've watched Smallville. Smallville is not a great TV series, let's be honest. It's pretty cheesy. But they've watched all 10 seasons.
I did as well, dude. I did as well.
You do it, and I did it as well. You do it just to finish it, because then you can say, I finished it.
I've done it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes I feel that's, I mean, I love the MCU, don't get me wrong, I love it to bits. But for some of the chapters, so to speak, but I'm just watching it because I feel that I have to.
No, of course. And I feel like what Marvel have done now at the moment now is taken some big risks in their face. They've given us totally different things that we would have got from like the original phases that we got with Marvel. With this phase, they have been taking some big risks. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't, and we're getting. It's in a way, I would say it's a good thing, because you're getting a mixed batch of reviews now and reactions of people saying, okay, you know what, they're trying something different. It didn't work, but let's see what they do on the next one. And they have been trying different things, but yeah, I think the last 2 movies, Spider-Man, because of the trivia that movie has, we'll always watch. But with Doctor Strange, I felt like it gave me a different feel of the MCU.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about your thoughts, but I really liked Eternals.
Yeah, no, Eternals was good as well. When I came out of that, my issue is that I've stopped looking at other people's reactions and reviews and go in there with my open mind to enjoy something.
I always do that. It's just like, you're going to bring to it something that the reviewer might not take into
exactly.
I went into it thinking, wow, this is a really multicultural cast.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Kumail Nanjiani as first brown superhero. For me, that meant more than big action sequence and whatever, that representation. I thought that's what drew me to go see it. If I'm going to
of course it would. It would bring a different. I mean, for us to see that as well is absolutely amazing. I mean, majority of comic books, I mean, now they've made the changes. Yeah. Majority of comic books are white led.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're right. And I mean, this brings us nicely onto Moon Knight, because even though that was a 6-part series, man, I loved it. Like, I've been watching an episode like every other day. Like, that replayability factor.
That's right.
Like, I personally, and I'm fine to say this, like, I thought it started really slow, but now that I've watched it and I watch it again, the directors and the team put so much little things in the beginning which were throwaway, but it all kind of makes sense now.
That's right.
So I just finished watching episode 6 again just this morning. Yeah, I love it, and the cast was great. I love the setting. I've always loved ancient Egypt. I thought Oscar Isaac was great choice for the lead on it.
Very.
It was great. Scarlet Scarab. I did expect that, but I didn't expect it.
Yeah, same here. Me and my brother were talking about that as well. But when they did do it was really good, bro.
Yeah,
it was really good because I don't know, just the visuals of it was stunning, and you pick this character and you represent it in a proper way where it's not forced fed.
Yeah.
And you've done it on a natural way where it suits the scene, and it dropped really well. We really loved that scene, and then for people abroad to see that as well is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good, great acting. I just think the whole storyline and the acting was superb, and it was. And yeah, whilst it wasn't like really action packed like a Falcon Winter Soldier, it didn't need to. I think it was very character driven. Felt it. Yeah, you actually felt it, and after watching it again, I personally felt like, wow, this is it put you through a journey, like an emotional journey with the characters. I really loved it, and also it's a case where I know of Moon Knight. I've heard of him. I know what he does. I know the kind of backstories, but I've been looking into him even more now, just because I think it's so interesting, and I think that's a great thing, like for like a seasoned comic book fan to go back and say, I didn't know this, and get that excitement to learn more about this character is great. Although I loved it. Really keen to see what they do with season 2, if there is a season 2.
I hope there is, man. It's got to be.
Yeah, and I just thought to myself today that again, I watched the finale with Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, and you know how people like to compare him to Batman. And then I realized, oh well, if Moon Knight is Batman, then Mr. Knight is almost like Nightwing, because with the screamer sticks and the kind of way.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's both of them in one character, which is really cool.
No, definitely is. I've got to send you something later on about that, but I don't know if you noticed. But have you been watching the outros to?
No.
Okay, watch it closely again, and then message me later, see if you notice it. Because I didn't notice it until my brother picked it out the other day.
What in terms of the end credits?
Just the outro, the end credits. So when you see the different suits.
Yeah, I've seen that with 2 suits, and I've seen when Oscar Isaac's head splits.
Yeah. So before the suit turns the first time, it's actually Jake Lockley's costume. Then then what do you call it? Mark Spector. Then Stephen Grant.
What on all of them, or just the last?
From season 1, from episode 1, they teased us Jack Lockley in that end credit scene. Okay, and on the end credit.
Okay, I'll go look at it. But what's his costume like? Is it the black and white one?
Yeah, you know what? Let me send it to you now before I forget, because it really shocked the hell out of me. And I was like, bloody hell, they're so smart in their marketing that people just don't notice little things like that.
Yeah, but it's great though that they do that. Like, you need almost like just freeze frame everything on that end credits just to see what they're going with.
And that's another thing as well we didn't notice as well. I found out through the comic connoisseur again, Michael, who told me that there are QR codes in each episode. Yeah. Did I tell you that?
No. I've seen them though. I've not used them.
So, but they link you to a comic book that's related to that episode for Moon Knight.
Really?
Yeah.
I love the fact that they made this series like in 2 years. And I think the director and the creator, well, more the director and the executive producer, Mohammed Diab, he really loves it. And I don't know if you saw this interview where he was given a critique on like Wonder Woman, because obviously Wonder Woman 2 was set in Saudi Arabia, but then you had some random sort of like stereotypical shots of, like a sheikh and Egypt and so forth. And I just love the fact, and then maybe it's me just seeing it, but even in the last episode, like even the Scarlet Scarab is doing sort of like the Wonder Woman pose, but it actually makes sense.
Yeah,
I thought that was just a nice little nod.
It was actually really good. They really good. That last fight scene was really good, and I wanted a bit more of that action because of where Moon Knight was moving into each character. Yeah, while he was fighting, that was so good, and it just reminded me of like I don't know if you've seen a movie called Old Boy where they had that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Daredevil do it as well. Where they go through the corridor. So they had that scene, which was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I really love the choreography. I love the like the screamer stick work that they were doing. I just thought it was cool. It was. I love that they had different styles. Again, mixing like Batman style, Nightwing style. No, it's cool. I loved it.
It worked really well. It worked really well. I think this is one of my favorite Marvel TV shows. I feel like they dealt with, traumatic mental health issues and things like that, split personality, psychosis. So they brought a lot of elements into this, which they haven't done in most of the other ones. They haven't shown you the type of what heroes actually go through. Even though he's a vigilante, is what is he actually personally going through in his mind? And that the fact that Khonshu, oh man, that just made me laugh right at the end, that end credit scene. It was all about Jake. Yeah. It was all about Jake.
I love ancient Egypt, and whilst it's not canon like Khonshu and so forth, it's not really actual ancient Egypt canon, but it works in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I just thought it was I thought it was great.
No, it was absolutely good.
I'm keen to see because I looked at the end and it doesn't say Moon Knight will return or
same here. I was looking for that.
So who knows what that means, but I'm so super excited. I've already been looking at if they're going to do a Mr. Knight Hot Toys. I know they're doing Moon Knight.
I saw the Moon Knight one. Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Knight one would be cool as well, and Scarlet Scarab.
Yes, definitely. That would be definitely one to have. That would be absolutely amazing. This goes on to the collecting. Your collection. You're collecting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you're into comics, but then you're into Hot Toys as well. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've always wanted to get into Hot Toys. I told you this, but I only really started it, 5 years ago? I've always wanted it, like for years and years and years. But I got into it properly on my honeymoon, actually, when I was in Hong Kong, and we went to the Hot Toys secret base. And I've always wanted, this, I've always wanted that armory. Bruce Wayne, Batman, Alfred. Obviously, it was years old when I actually saw it in person. And then my wife just said, you know what, you've been talking about this for years, just get it. And then obviously I couldn't find it anywhere in Hong Kong. So I managed to get it finally back in the UK in Southampton, which is so weird. But that kind of springboarded me into, once you've got one, again, it's about that collector. You've got to have all of it. So I did all the Dark Knight stuff, and then I moved on to Marvel. And that's the gift that just keeps on giving. So I'm not at my house at the moment, but when I come back, I'm definitely looking to get my module cases and just play them properly.
Awesome. With that, and because I know we've had the discussion before regarding collecting, like what is it that it means so much to you when you see those figures there?
You know what? It's half nostalgia. It's half nostalgia, but it's just, I don't know. Well, it's a case of like a physical representation of like your fandom. I can't really explain it. It just brings me joy to know that, let's say the armory, that's a point in the Dark Knight that I absolutely love. It brings all sorts of kind of like joy to me, because I remember seeing it in the film. I was like, that's so cool. And then the fact that I've got a version of it, I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's just, it brings almost like that childlike joy that I've got that, which I've had all my life, because I've always loved action figures and toys. Kind of gave it up when I perceived that I shouldn't be buying them anymore. And then you get to a point where you're like, why not?
Exactly.
It's not something I'm gonna grow out with. Don't get me wrong, I'm not playing with them. It's just I like having them, and
it's a visual thing. It is a visual thing. It's a visual thing. It's the joy it brings to you. It's the same as an art piece, bro. When you look at an art piece, it will bring you some sort of emotion. But when I look at something like a figure or artwork or something, it brings me joy, because it'd be like, I can imagine that person when he was doing that, zoned out, really happy in that moment, because he's lost in the painting, or he's lost in taking a photo of the figures, or things like that. It's that sense of joy and that nostalgia that it brings to you, and each one of them will have a connective memory as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said that it's a piece of art. I think they are. I think especially the Hot Toys ones, and the Super 7 stuff that I'm collecting at the moment,
Mhm.
they are pieces of art.
Yeah.
They you know, art is supposed to emote and give you a feeling, and they really do.
Yeah.
You know, in my office when it's all display, I would go there and I'm like, this room brings me happiness. I can't really explain it. And if you're not into it, I
Yeah.
don't know if you'd get it, but it really does. And again, as I said, I've always loved action figures since I was little. Too much in terms of my I think my parents, looking back now, they did really spoil me with the action figures that I and so forth. Like getting, my mums would always get me doubles of some of them because she knew I brought them, keep them somewhere where she didn't think I'd know them. But I think it's that I've got the same thing with trainers. I didn't really have nice trainers when I was younger, and now that I can afford them, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
Why not? Right?
Why not? Exactly. We have one life, dude, and if we can enjoy 50% of that, that's actually a really good thing, man. That's the main thing. That is the main thing. Collecting, though, when it came to introducing that into your normal everyday life, because this is one part that I found quite difficult when it came to connecting with people when I used to say I love comics and animation. I mean, what was that like for you when you were growing up in your teens and mixing with people and then cultures as well?
Well, to be honest, I stopped collecting. Like I've always, actually no, I collected comic books all the way until uni, and then I think a lot of people kind of drop off because they've got other stuff to focus on, and then that kind of continued afterwards. And then I just one day went into Forbidden Planet and thinking, man, this place just brings me so much joy. And why hide it? Why try to not, like, actively try not to live in this world? And then so I just started building up my collections, trying to learn more about the stuff, going back to the beginning. And then I think at that time, you know, Spider-Man, like, is becoming more popular culture. But I mean, that was kind of irrelevant. I just remember going in Forbidden Planet, it's like, man, I've lost so many years. I'm not up to date anymore. So I kind of got into it, and then you know, working in parallel with that is like stuff was coming out. Dark Knight trilogy was coming out. Like superheroes were becoming much more mainstream.
Mainstream.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess we all go through it to a certain point. It's like, you know, maybe echoes of when you were younger, that it was perceived as geeky or nerdy. I really don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. No, it's a good way, because I came to a point where I used to feel like, shit, I'm finding it I found it weird that I couldn't accept it myself. You know, I found it very hard to say, you know, to my dad. I'd be like, Dad, this is me, man. You got to just deal with it. Because he'd be like, son, you're like 30 years old. Come on, you're still wearing superhero t-shirts? Dad, I'm 40 now. I'm still wearing them. It doesn't, but like, it took time till he understood, like, this is him. And it's weird because I needed to get kind of like the father's approval stamp to say, oh, you know what? He's accepted the way I am now. We've finally come to terms. And because I get all my geeky shit off him.
Yeah, well, you know what? Saying that, my dad was the one that introduced me to like the Incredible Hulk, you know, the whole Bill Bixby TV series. And that kind of kicked one of the things that kickstarted my love with that sort of other world of, you know, superheroes larger than life. And so, yeah, my parents have always like supported that. They, you know, they got me into Batman and so forth. So it's that's never been an issue with me. It's just a case of, you know, maybe when I was younger, it'd be kind of maybe a little bit embarrassing talking about it. But as you grow up, it's like, actually, superheroes and that sort of popular culture is what connects a lot of people.
That's right.
Connect so many people that you might not feel should be or are connected. So, or just popular culture in general. So we were there before it's cool.
No, exactly. I need to put that on a t-shirt, dude.
Yeah, but you know, saying that, in my work life, I've always worked places where, you know, popular culture and that knowledge, maybe perceived as geeky knowledge, has always been sort of a strength. You know, I've worked in film, worked in consumer products, I've worked in video games, and that sort of stuff is really celebrated. It gives you an edge, on other people, because, you know, if someone says, you know, talk to me about all of Batman's gadgets because we're doing something. Like we're doing something with Batman related, I can name that. I don't need to look at the internet for that. I can say straight away. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of knowledge that you've developed and you've learned throughout your years, it's actually
come to use. Yeah,
it's come to use.
No, definitely. No, that's awesome. That's really good. Really good to hear. All right, cool.
What are you doing with your beard?
I was trying to go for that Tony Stark look, but I kind of like went halfway through it. We're going on holiday soon, so I had to take passport photos, and I was like, okay, this has got to last for 10 years. Let me try and get it as neat as possible. But every time I go to take a passport photo in my local place, it's always jam packed. So I was like, I'm gonna have to shave again now and try and work out what I want to do now.
Oh, you haven't done it yet?
No, I haven't finished it off, dude. Like I maybe just keep the beard out and go. It was like a weird Tony Stark sort of look. But I actually wanted to do the Doctor Strange because I'm going Comic-Con in 2 weeks. And I was like,
isn't it? Are you going to Doctor Strange?
I'll be there on Saturday. I was going as a Doctor Strange, but like I was going to give it almost like a Superboy look, but with the Doctor Strange lapels, the Eye of Agamotto, and I was going to put a bit of grey in the hair, but do the beard as well. But now that's gone out the window. So I don't know, dude. It's been a long time, but everybody I've been speaking to recently says, Kibler, please, you have to jump back into cosplaying again. And I was like, that was like me 12 years ago, man.
I remember seeing you as Daredevil. Do you find it? I know we talked about this beforehand, but I was reading yesterday about like this movement of people of color kind of owning sort of like characters now, or just kind of bucking the trend, because obviously there isn't that many, you know, especially at Comic-Con, there isn't that many superheroes or popular culture people of color. That's why I was so excited about Kumail being in the Avengers. Like, finally, I've got someone I can dress up as.
No, of course,
authentic. I still think there is a lack. Hopefully, Ms. Marvel coming out front will help you know, inspire girls and boys to be able to dress up. I mean, Black Panther did a really good job.
Yes, it did. That's right. I mean, it's getting there, dude. I think it's coming to a point now where the comic books are changing as well. But I mean, we need more original characters. We get more original characters introduced that, you know, I could go and say, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna cosplay as this, and my little girl can come as Miss Marvel or the Scarlet Scarab. You know, I could see that. So
that'd be cute.
Yeah. So it's like it's slowly getting there. But I mean, from back in the days, you know, I think I did an interview with BBC a couple of years ago before just after Stan Lee passed away, and it was at a Comic-Con as well. And I remember the girl asked me this, because I was raised up, I never saw color, dude. I grew up in a multicultural area. I saw everybody as one. My father and my mother taught me to be like that as well. Yeah. So when I got introduced to comic books by my uncle, yes, they were all led by white people. But when I got into the Comic-Con world of people dressing up in cosplay, the characters, and having conversations with them, the presenter from BBC goes to me, you know, why is it that these people are imitating white characters? And I'm like, they're not imitating the character or the race. They're imitating their characteristics, and they've connected, you know, with this character in some sort of way. That's why they enjoy that. But the way she kind of placed it, which they're smart. BBC always do that. I've done several interviews with them, and I'm like, why do you word it in that way for? Because it's not about white or color or race or what it was. It's how that character connected with that person at that moment to say, I want to dress up as Wolverine because there's a connection there, that his character means something to me, or we share some sort of trait. That's why I picked Wolverine or Magneto, or, you know, a character that's not, you know, it would be a black guy dressing up as Wolverine. There's nothing wrong with that. He's connected with the character and he looks fucking cool. You know what I mean? I don't know why it has to have that element of what it is, a white character. That's why we need more different colored superheroes in there. But I just don't want us to be like green and yellow and shit like that. I need brown representation, dude.
No, I agree. But that's a nice sentiment of what you just said there. But I do agree with that. I think comic books are one of these things where, most of the time I don't look into it in terms of like sort of like race. It is very much what the characteristics that they are portraying. I love what Stan Lee once said about Spider-Man, why he gave him a full sort of get-up. Yeah. Including covering his face, because anyone could imagine it to be them, which is really nice.
Exactly. Very, very nice testament, man. It's true. All size fits all. I love that scene in Into the Spider-Verse. So good. Yeah.
I am actually looking forward to the new Across the Spider-Verse. That'll be good.
Me too. Me too. It's actually one of my top favorite movies, man. I actually came out of the cinema in tears.
I know you said, and that's another one of the films where you could watch it. If you said, let's watch it now, I'd watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a watchable movie. It's a great script. And it was complicated because it introduces multiversal characters, but they made it work so well that, you know, the soundtrack, the visuals, you know, I remember speaking because I work with Wacom and I'm asking them like, guys, you need to get me connected with Sony, man, because I want to see their process, because if they use these big ass machines to do that work, I want to know what programs they're using because I want to learn how to do that. But it was absolutely amazing. Really, really cool stuff. All right, bro, we're kicking out of time because Zoom have basically sent the FU message to people that have been using it for free for ages. So now I have to find another streaming platform, which is free, but all good. But Saj, thank you for jumping on today. Absolutely amazing. It's your first podcast, right? Yeah,
it's my first one. I'm just getting used to it.
Awesome.
I'm getting confident and just, I don't know, as you say, just geeking out about stuff that we really love.
You did great, man. I'm excited. Thank you so much for jumping on, and have a wonderful day, dude.
All right, you too.